What's up, everybody? Hope you're doing absolutely awesome out there. Thank you so much for coming back to join me for another video. And in this video, we are comparing the Mahlkönig X54 and the Turin DF64. So while the DF64 and the X54 are not necessarily completely direct comparison grinders, I thought it would be a cool comparison because not only is the DF64 a very popular specialty coffee home enthusiast grinder, it's also the only grinder I have on hand right now that's probably the most comparable to the X54. I've already done a review of the Mahlkönig X54. If you want to get a little bit more information and details on that, you can check out that review here. And while I have not done a full deep dive review of the DF64, there are a ton of fantastic DF64 reviews out there. This grinder is not new to the market, and I'll make sure I leave the link to a few of the ones that I like down in the description. Both of these grinders are considered all-around grinders. They are capable of grinding as fine as you need to go for espresso, and also as coarse as you need to go up to like French press, cold brew, that sort of stuff, and everything in between. In this video, we're going to be comparing these two grinders and how they do for espresso. In a follow-up video I want to compare how these two grinders do for filter and maybe some other brewing methods. So one of the main differences between the X54 and the DF64 is in the name. The X54 utilizes 54mm flat burrs and the DF64 uses 64mm flat burrs. When it comes to burrs, the X54 utilizes what Mahlkönig calls special steel burrs. In my review video, I talked a little bit about those burrs, so definitely make sure you check that video out. But I mentioned that I don't really understand what is so special about them. I did get some clarification on this from my contact at Mahlkönig, and he stated that the reason they call them special steel burrs is because they are made of a composition or a composite metal, basically, that's made of a bunch of different alloys or several different alloys. I don't know all of them, and I was unable to get any sort of real spec breakdown. That's probably proprietary information to Mahlkönig. But basically, these are made of a combination of specialized steel, material to make these burrs. With the DF64 being a 64mm burr, it has the option to have a few different kinds of burrs in it, and you can upgrade the burrs in these, whereas with the X54, you're really limited to only a few 54mm burrs that are out there, and I don't know that they're that much better than what comes in the X54. A lot of guys run the SSP high uniformity or multi-purpose burrs in these. There are guys running the Gorilla Gear black burrs, which were originally designed for the fellow Ode, but they do work in the DF64. I have the Italmill titanium coated burrs in this grinder. So a little bit different of a burr, obviously, than what's in here, but again, these are the two closest grinders I currently have in my possession and two fairly popular home grinders, so I figured it was worth the comparison. So what we're gonna do is utilize the same coffee for both. We're gonna utilize 18-gram dose for both shots, and I'm gonna get the DF64 dialed into where I currently have the X54, which is a grind setting with this coffee that's been working really well for me on espresso, and we're gonna see if we can taste the difference. So before we go any further and dive into the shot, I do wanna say the X54 was gifted to me by Mahlkönig, but they are not paying for any of these videos or any of the content I'm making, so these are purely my thoughts. And the DF64 I paid for with my own money, and I've had it about a year, actually I think a little over a year at this point. So just wanted to disclose that to you before we go any further. All right, let's grind some coffee and see what we got. So I currently have the X54 set on setting 7. That's where I've been getting the best results with this particular coffee, with this grinder, with the espresso machine that I currently have. So the last time I made espresso with the DF64 was back when I had the Flare 58 still, and I utilized setting 2 with a different coffee. So we're gonna dispense or dose a little bit of coffee in here and see where grind setting 2 is at and how it compares to this. I might need to make a grind adjustment. This actually looks very, very similar. This might be close enough. Actually, the DF might be a little finer. Yeah, actually the DF is slightly finer. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go up just a little bit to setting 3. And I think we'll be good there. So just so you know, I'm using a Breville dual boiler espresso machine for these tests, but it is behind you, the camera, on the counter back there in my kitchen. I didn't really have enough room to kind of have it set up over here. So these shots were really close in terms of output weight and time. Maybe you could stand to go a little bit coarser on the DF64, but all in all, they were very, very close. Actually, much closer than I thought they were gonna be for kind of guessing with the DF64. Okay, really, really good initial sweetness, nice acidity. It's not the most extreme clarity, but it's a very tasty shot. So let's try the DF64. Okay, Very, very similar, actually. Surprisingly more similar than I expected them to be. Again, good sweetness. Got the sides of the jaw, kind of juicy sweetness. Very similar. Very, very similar. I would say the DF64 has a little bit of the edge on the sweetness. There's a little bit more of kind of that perceived sweetness, a little bit more of like an acidity to it, a good acidity. If I had these shots on different days, I don't know that I'd be able to tell the difference. But side by side, obviously, I can sort of tell here. The DF64 has a little bit of an edge on the sweetness and the clarity. The X54 is a little bit kind of muddled flavors, but man, they're really, really close. The one thing I will say that for the reasons that I might say I give the DF64 the win is purely because of the 64 millimeter burr size. I'm getting very comparable, very, very similar shots of espresso, which are very tasty, but the DF64 I can upgrade if I wanted to a better 64 millimeter burr. The X54, I'm kind of stuck where we're at. And so that's one of the drawbacks to this particular grinder. Right now, you can find the X54 anywhere from about $5.99 to like $6.49. I've seen them upwards of $7.49, but it seems like the average price is about $5.99 to $6.49, depending on the site you get them from, depending on what options you get them with. There is different options for the hopper. And so, you know, it's a fairly expensive grinder. The way that this DF64 is set up right here with the titanium coated Ital mill burrs, you're looking at about $435 is about the same consistent price. I found it from a couple of different sites. You can, however, order the DF64 with SSP burrs already installed. Obviously, there's gonna be a higher price tag that comes with that, and it's gonna put you closer to the price of the X54. I will say the ease of use, the overall sort of like workflow with this compared to this is way better. I would actually rather give up a little bit of clarity and a little bit of flavor to have the X54 versus something like the DF64 in my home. This thing's a mess. Granted, this does make a little bit of a mess too, but what grinder doesn't? But this thing is really bad, and it's very common and a very well-known thing that the DF64 is pretty bad when it comes to static and chaff and, you know, coffee grounds all over the front of the damn thing. The X54, not quite as bad. You will get a little bit of that, but not as bad. I like that you've got some user programmable functions here. You've got the longevity and the German build quality of Mahlkönig. And so for me, if I was only going to be using these two grinders for espresso and nothing else, that's a tough call. From a longevity and design and workflow standpoint, I would go with the X54. If you wanted to spend about the same amount of money and you weren't as concerned about the workflow, the messiness of the DF64, and you wanted the SSP burrs and a little bit better clarity of the flavor notes, then I would say go with the DF64. So it's really a toss-up, but I'm interested to know what you think. Do you have either one of these grinders? Do you have a DF64 with these burrs or with the SSP burrs? Do you have an X54? Have you yourself compared them side by side? What are your thoughts? You know, I'd like to hear that. So definitely leave a comment down below. Let me know what your thoughts and experiences are with either one of these grinders if you have them. The next video I do comparing these two grinders is going to be for filter coffee. Since these are sort of considered to be all-around grinders, I want to make sure I do some additional videos, at the very least one more discussing filter coffee capabilities of both of these grinders. With that being said, thank you so much. Don't forget to like, subscribe, do all the things you're supposed to do here on YouTube, because it definitely does help me out, and I've been really pleased to see the amount of people that have been supporting the channel. Thank you so much. Check out the links in the description if you want to check out either one of these grinders, and we'll see you on the next video. Not sure why I did the double guns, but I'm going with it. See you on the next video.